Brandon here, and in today's video I want to go over, doing video for your YouTube and Instagram to kind of help show the different animals and different projects you're working with within the reptiles. So this isn't one of those videos where it's a do this or else you're going to fail, because I don't think that's the case. This is simply, how I do it, why I do it the way that I do it, and why I prefer some of these ideas that I have in this video for how you could more or less document your experience with the reptiles. So YouTube used to be about you and your experiences and you documenting, whatever it is that you were into. And for most of us, that's reptiles. That's our projects that we keep. That's, just the animals we produce, cool stuff that we pick up, or even shows that we go to. So for me, I want my videos to feel like I'm more or less hanging out with a friend, talking about some of the projects, talking about some of the things I enjoy, and, even showing off like babies that I produce. Which brings me to what I think is the most important thing, and that is the topics and the things that you cover on both your YouTube and your Instagram, and how you want to cover that stuff, right? Like, you could cover shows that you go to, your experience at shows. You can cover your breeding projects. You can cover the animals you produced. You can cover animals that you've picked up and that you've bought. All that stuff I think is pretty interesting to other people, and they want to potentially hear your thought process. They want to hear about the stuff that you've picked up and the things that you are doing. So for me, I prefer those types of videos. I also enjoy making videos to a degree, talking about my thoughts or my different ideas or why I like a specific project, which I think is something important to take into consideration whenever you are putting out ideas for your videos. Is you want to be putting out stuff that you yourself would like to watch, stuff that you enjoy, because overall I feel like if you enjoy it, it's not going to feel like work, and you're going to enjoy doing stuff more and more. It's also important to note that you won't feel as pressured or as obligated to put stuff out there, because you're doing it whenever you feel like it, and you're doing stuff that you actually like, versus feeling like you have to post on Instagram every single day, feeling like you need to post a YouTube video every week. That really does take the fun out of it, and it makes it far less enjoyable. And I think if you are doing topics or showing things that you really enjoy, you're going to like it a lot more. I mean, who doesn't like, even cleaning day, as much of a pain as it is, it can be, whenever you're going through and you're opening up these tubs and you're seeing animals, like, you're able to enjoy them, so even making videos about that, like just showing stuff that you're like, wow, like I really love opening up this tub and seeing this beautiful animal, and I can't wait to show others about this animal or this project or the things that are coming or the things that I've made. All right, so let's talk a little bit about gear. So I don't know if you realized it or not, but during the course of the beginning of the video, or throughout the video up until now, I have used 3 different cameras. So I have used my iPhone 15 Pro, I think it is, but any iPhone would likely do. The DJI Pocket 3, which is my favorite and what I'm using currently, and my Sony FX30. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each one in detail, and then afterwards, kind of show how I would use each one to record something for the snakes back in the snake room. So I'm definitely pretty strong in the opinion that if the information you're putting out there is good enough, you don't need some huge production, especially if you're just starting out. It's a big investment to put a bunch of cash into a bunch of camera gear that you're not sure how you'd use, that you're gonna have to put a lot of time in to figure out, versus just using your phone and seeing if you like, how it works, if you even like making videos, if you like putting your stuff out there. I do think everybody should be putting their projects out there, putting their animals out there, because that's just gonna help people know who you are and know the projects that you're working with. And phones, I think, with how good they are these days, you really don't need anything more than that. Sure, other things can make the convenience factor a little bit more, and you have that going for you. You can see yourself, whatever, but phones in general, the quality of them is so good. And you have an app that's available. I think they just made it available on Android too, but it's called the Blackmagic camera app. And you can basically use that to adjust the settings on your phone, so that way you have consistent color and consistent exposure. Now, you can just basically flip through those like a dial and then get them exactly where you need and where you want and to what looks good. The most important thing to make sure is locked is going to be your white balance, because whenever you're showing your animals, you want them to be consistently the color that they are, and I think white balance is the most important thing. So one of the biggest disadvantages of using the phone, if you are recording yourself, is you're not able to see yourself because the front-facing camera kind of sucks. So you don't really know what your framing looks like, and you know, overall, you don't want to be recording the Blair Witch Project. So that's why for me, I prefer the Pocket 3, which again is what we're using right now, because I'm able to see where I'm at within the frame and make sure, basically, I like how everything looks. So as I mentioned, basically, the Pocket 3 is my favorite camera to use. I like how small it is, how portable it is. The video quality is great. You can get like 4K video, and it also Bluetooth connects to a microphone, which, you know, we'll talk a little bit about the microphones and audio here shortly, because I do think that that is pretty important. So now the disadvantage for the Pocket 3, while I do think it's great for recording yourself, if you're, you know, talking about the animals, whatever else, or even interviews at shows and stuff like that, I think that it is one of the better cameras that you can use. So now some of the disadvantages for the Pocket 3 is that it's probably not the best for recording the snakes. And the reason for that is the field of view is like 24 millimeters, so it's fairly wide. Now, I haven't really tried, but you know, I'll probably include a section, you know, trying to use it to show some of the snakes. After this, we recorded an egg cutting video probably like 2 weeks ago, and we used the Pocket 3 for that. I also recorded both the egg cutting with my Sony FX30 and my cell phone to basically show that the differences are negligible at best. Now, if you've seen my recent video about Daytona, I actually used the Pocket 3 for the interviews as well as showing the displays. Now for the animals, I did use my Sony, mostly because I like the field of view that it has, like having that 50 millimeter field of view. I really like that. But you do run into problems with that as well. Sometimes the depth of field is far too shallow, so you have to close it down a little bit to get more of the animal in focus. Now, you are not going to have that same trouble when you use your phone. I feel like in the phone, you're able to get a lot more in focus. And overall, I feel like if I had recorded that even with just my phone or with my phone in the Pocket 3, I think the video would have looked just as good. There's plenty of people that record these shows, and a lot of people like watching them. A lot of people like looking at the animals, and the majority of them do it with just their phone. So there are a couple people, one guy in particular, I like how kind of goofy and how I don't know, silly his channel is to a degree. Cloud Colubrids. He shows a lot of different colubrids, a lot of other snakes too, but whenever he does like a show walkthrough, he's just using his phone, and overall he gets really good results. He's able to show the animals well, he's able to, you know, be heard. Now I feel like his audio could be better, but he is trying to get the ambiance of being at the Reptile Expo, so I do understand that too. So the Pocket 3, I think, is the best for recording yourself, recording shows, different things like that, because you are able to see yourself. I think that that is beneficial just so you kind of know where you are in the frame. Now, when it comes to my Instagram and typically whenever I show the snakes, that is where I use my Sony camera. And I'd be lying if I said that the quality isn't different. You know, the thing is though, is that that also requires a lot of knowing what to do. It is also the biggest investment. Your phone, you know, you already have your phone. You know, the Pocket 3, you can get it with the mic for, I think it's like $700 or $800. And then for me, for my setup for my Sony camera, That, I want to say whenever I bought it, it was a little bit more expensive, but now you can find them for like $2,000. And the lens that I use is the 18-50 Sigma macro, and that's also like a $550 lens. So you're looking at quite a big difference between something you already have, a $600 or $700, you know, pocket gimbal that you can use for shows, interviews, recording yourself, and then a $2,500 to $3,000 investment for a Sony, you know, camera and lens. So couple that with all the information and all the stuff you have to figure out on how to use that camera and set it up, and just any other camera in general. It's a lot to take in, especially if you are just starting out, just trying to figure stuff out and trying to figure out if you even like doing it. If you like putting stuff out there to show your projects and everything else, which again, you should 100% do. You should be showing your animals, you should be showing your projects, you should be having people get familiar with you and the stuff that you're working on. So it can be daunting. And that's more or less the point of this video. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be something that you're so overwhelmed with that you don't even want to start, because that's a bad feeling. That sucks. When you have so much stuff to do, or so much anxiety or whatever else, to where you're just like, I don't know, it's not worth it. It's not worth putting myself out there. But it is worth it. It's worth showing your stuff. It's worth, you know, having people know the projects you're working on and knowing about those projects, you know, the direction you want to go, different things like that, because you can build an interest base on that stuff. So on that note, there are plenty of people that are very successful that just use their phones. They don't even use an external mic, which, quick note on that, for me, I like using the DJI mic. One, it comes with the Pocket 3. You can connect it to both your phone and to a, you know, real camera. So it's like not even really like that much of a cost. If you're to buy the unit itself, it's like $300, but if you get it with the DJI Pocket like combo, it, you know, comes with it. Obviously the price goes up a little bit, but if you just need one mic, you're set. You know, you have everything you need. You can hook it to a lavalier, which is what I've done, so I don't have this big heavy thing stretching out my shirt line. And overall, the quality's good. Is it amazing? No, probably not. But for the majority of people that are watching your videos, they're not gonna care. Which is why I feel like I'm stressing the phone combo so much. Is the majority of people that are watching your videos, they don't care what you do it on. They don't care what you shoot it with. They just want to get either good information that's going to help them, you know, where they want to go with their projects, or they just want to see cool animals. If you look at Miguel from Always Evolving Pythons, he uses his phone. Of course, he has his wife to help him by recording and stuff like that, which my fiance would help me if I need. Shoot, she's helped me out on this little adventure today. But overall, I'm pretty sure he's not even using like the Blackmagic camera app. He's probably just using the straight native iPhone app, no external mic, no nothing. Color shifts pretty often, but in general, people go to his channel, they watch his videos, they like the animals that he shares and shows, and what more do you need? Now you may be saying, Miguel gets the views because he's just showing the craziest snakes possible. And, you know, part of that probably true, but you look at somebody like Mike from Balls of Fury. He has a nice collection, but very few people have a collection that's remotely on par with stuff that Miguel has. But Mike does a good job. Mike records everything from his phone. Most of the time, it's by himself unless he has one of his buddies come help him. And overall, you get a good vibe. Like, he's super chill, and in general, like, his passion for the animals is what basically shines through. He's very passionate about the animals he has. He's passionate about the projects he's working. And you can see that in his videos. Like when he's showing off his clutches and his production, he's super excited to have the animals he has. He's super excited to have made what he's made. And I think that goes pretty far with how people perceive the stuff that you're putting out there. Because, you know, if you're bummed about it, or if it's too much work, or it's draining, then it's not going to be nearly as enjoyable. And that's where I think Mike does a great job, because of the enthusiasm and overall just the feeling of the video. And of course, the animals he shows are also pretty cool. So Antoine from DPR, he's another great example. And honestly, I think his format and how he puts his stuff together is probably the best. He will have his girlfriend or whatever, I don't know what she is, record him, and then after that, he gets a secondary shot of the animals. And that, I think, is like the perfect like blend, because you get just the chill kind of feel. It's just fun. You're hanging out with a friend. He's showing you the cool stuff he's made and how excited he is about it. And then on top of that, you also get a clip of the animal very clearly, showing it well. And again, I'm pretty sure he uses just his phone. Now, I think he's probably locking the exposure and stuff like that, so stuff doesn't change as he's showing them. But in general, his videos are super clear. Again, not using an external mic as far as I know. And you can hear him good. You can hear him just fine enough. And again, I hate like beating the same, dead horse, but that's all you need. It needs to be good enough. It needs to be enjoyable for people to watch, and people should feel like they get something out of it. Not, be confused after they watched your video because it was way too much to take in, which I feel like this video is going to be long, and apologies if it is too much to take in. Watch it a second time. So a limitation for me is I want stuff done the way that I want it done, and I know sometimes I can be a pain for that. I want my videos to look a certain way, and in reality it shouldn't be that serious. Like, my fiance could help me out a lot more if I wanted to. She could, easily, help me out in a way that my videos are very similar to DPR's, but I use my time to record myself, say whenever she's at work or something like that, so I'm not taking time away from us hanging out, except for right now. And I like that style. I like being able to record myself. I don't feel as pressured to, have things, I don't know, perfect or whatever. Like, I feel like there's a bit of stage fright going on whenever someone's around, and that's why I don't record as in-depth as I probably could at a show, because I just feel awkward, and just is what it is. It's personal limitations. But for me, I think recording myself, putting the animals on top of that is the easiest way for me to have, I guess, complete control over the final outcome of the video and how it looks, versus relying on somebody else to record it the way that I want, because they don't necessarily have the vision that I have, the idea for an angle or whatever that I have. So before we go into the snake room and do a little bit of practical application and show how I would set up certain shots, and show, I guess, how I'd record using my phone, using the Pocket 3, and even using my Sony camera, both for YouTube stuff and Instagram, I did want to make an observation. And that is, even recently, Justin's video style has changed from I wouldn't even say overproduced, but from a higher production value into something that's more like a vlog, right? And some of that can be said because what I mentioned in the beginning, YouTube has started to change, and it's, for the better in general. I don't like watching stuff that feels like a commercial. I want to watch something that's just somebody chilling, somebody going over the projects that they're working on, the babies they're excited to have. And I think that style resonates with a lot of people, because that's what it feels like. It feels way less pressured, and I don't know, it just feels different. And I'm not saying that to say that if that's the type of stuff that you want to produce, that you shouldn't. There's definitely a place for that. But the general population of people that are going to be watching, your videos on your animals probably don't care what it's recorded on. They just want to see cool stuff. And again, horse continues to be beaten, but that's really important. And especially for people that are just starting out, they don't need to go into debt to get a camera that they don't understand. They can very easily just use the tools that they currently have, which is basically their phone, and, you know, get stuff that's good enough. Show their babies off. You know, if they decide they like it, then they can invest in stuff further and see where it goes. And on that note, I may have beaten that horse quite a bit about good enough. But just to add on to that, that doesn't mean that you don't need to put effort into putting stuff out there. You really do want to take a little bit of consideration in putting together a thought process for your videos, or for stuff that can increase engagement to a degree. You know, and that's mostly for like Instagram and stuff, like, hey, like, what do you think about this? You know, because people do potentially want to give their opinions. And I think that that stuff is helpful for growth, and it's helpful for building a little bit of, you know, interest around stuff that you have or stuff that you might be working, or to even gauge the interest level of a project or something you'll be producing. So for me, for YouTube videos, what I typically do, and I've shown them before, is I just make notes. So I make notes and typically bullet points. And those bullet points I more or less kind of go off of, and I feel like one, and don't get me wrong, I re-record stuff often enough, but I feel like bullet points is just like, hey, this is what you're gonna talk about, and then it allows me to kind of, I guess, freestyle stuff a little bit and just, you know, speak from the heart really, because reading scripts is just noticeable. There's a bunch of camera channels and stuff that I've watched in the past, and you can tell immediately when they're reading a script. It just doesn't feel as genuine. And I feel like people watching your stuff can feel that, and it gives you that like uncanny valley or something, which is like where something's like kind of human but not quite human. I don't know, it's a whole different feeling. Either way, I did just want to add that in there, that you know, you do need to put effort, you do need to put planning, and you do need to put consideration in, you know, your topics. And sometimes that involves a little bit of research. So take that for what you will. All right, so with all that said, we are going to head back to the snake room and record the practical application of how to film the animals using the iPhone, the Pocket 3, and the, you know, and like a mirrorless camera, if that's something you already have or would want to use. So we will see you in the snake room.